What's up, guys? Welcome to the Shacknews Twitch channel. Today is March the 28th, 2022. We're with Monday, another new episode of the wide world of electronic sports. We got our host here, Bryan Lefler, Rodney Conyers Jr. I'll head it off to you guys. Tell us what's going on in the world of esports and possibly talk about our special guest here.
Yo, Chris, thank you so much for the intro, as always. Yes, it is another episode of Wide World of Electronic Sports, and episode, I think, 125 now. And it's a big one today. We have another excellent interview, but first, of course, I'm joined by my amazing co host, Rodney Conyers Jr. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing really well. It's always cool when we get to pick some new people's brains, so I'm excited to jump into it.
Absolutely. And we would be joined by Phil Visu, the phenomenal EE, but he is detained in another event, of course, same as last week, but I'm sure he'll be jumping in as soon as he's available. But let's get right into it. Without further ado, Roddy, let's have you introduce the guest since you were the one who was able to set it up, and I know you're so excited to kick
Ah,
off the show. So
yeah.
please take it away.
Yo, anything 100 Thieves related, you can go ahead and sign me up. Let me just get that out the way right now. Might be a bit of a fanboy, but
We know
whatever.
that.
But yeah, you know that. That's right. But introducing to the show, we have Jasmine Kitterman of 100 Thieves. Jasmine, talk to me. How you feeling today on this beautiful Monday?
Oh, I'm great. 100 Thieves just got done with a bunch of big projects. We're getting ready for a bunch of new big projects, and I'm here talking to y'all, having a good day.
Yes, so excited to hear that, yo. So before we even get into 100 Thieves, I feel like, your background in not just esports but in gaming had to have start long before any of that. So let's talk about your earliest roots in gaming. What are some of your fondest memories early on? Like what got you into the gaming space?
Oh, goodness. I think it was a little separate. I've always been super into gaming personally, and my foray into the space career-wise didn't start until about 4 years ago. I actually just, I think, unlocked a memory a couple weeks ago of like one of my very, very, very first games. I think it was on the Sega. That my mom had gotten us. It was a game that came out before I was even born, but I have very vivid memories of playing like a Sesame Street game and counting with Dracula and kind of like integrating learning with gaming is where I think I started with gaming. But
Mhm.
my most vivid memories of gaming started with Pokemon. I played on the Game Boy Color and then evolved into the Game Boy DS. I think that's really where I started sinking my time into gaming and realizing that like it's something that I loved so much and wanted to contribute a lot of my time and energy to because it was something that I just really enjoy. And then I think the world of gaming really opened to me with Kingdom Hearts. I think it was just such a fun culture blend of like things that people were familiar with in the mainstream with Disney, as well as like these more fantastical storylines and more like Final Fantasy-esque stories. Which I've always been just like really interested in. So I just loved seeing that blend. And after that, we got our PS2, our first like console with our controllers, and after that, I was hooked. So that's kind of I think where my passion for gaming came in, and in my career, it started out. Let's see. It's been, yeah, I think about 4 years. I started my career in tech startups, so I've been working in software as a service and doing marketing for various startup companies. So very used to doing kind of multiple hats, boots on the ground work, and shifting into a bunch of different priority marketing areas very, very early in my career. Um, and I think my foray into the gaming space just happened by chance. But I'll throw it back to you. I saw there was a little interest in Kingdom Hearts there. If you wanted to
Eh,
speak
you
on
know.
any kind of like passion.
So hold on really quick because you talked about Pokemon. We do a Pokemon show here every so many Wednesdays and every other so many Saturdays as well. But Pokemon, who's your go-to starter? And yes, I'm judging. Who's the go-to starter?
Um, I think I'm usually a water starter type person.
Okay.
I love me some Mudkip. Not gonna lie.
Okay. I like Mudkip too. That's right. Yeah, because when Mudkip evolves, he is like water and ground, which is just like a really weird combination of shit. I'm with you. So you're a Gen 3 person. I'm a Gen 3 person too.
Okay, and what's your starter?
Well, so originally when I got Ruby version, I did Trico. But then I did Emerald, and I was like, okay, there's more Pokemon here. They're opening it up to Johto and stuff like that. So I need a dual type. So I ended up doing Mudkip because I think Swampert was water and ground or some weird shit like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm always more times not going to go water type.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. But a man after my own heart. I definitely did not do Emerald or Ruby. I was a Sapphire version player, but
Mm.
very well rounded here.
That's right. That's right. Gen 3 stuff. People just sleep on Gen 3. But anyway, though, not to jump down the Pokemon rabbit hole. Wow. Kingdom Hearts, everybody says they love the game, and I get so many different types of reasons, but yours was the first time I've ever heard it's just the crossover that really kind of hooked you. Like and I guess does this kind of mirror almost your work at 100 Thieves? I mean, 100 Thieves is not just competitive gaming. They're like lifestyle and music and so many other things. I mean, is that the type of stuff you look for when you play games?
Yeah, I think that's a very complex question, but I think people definitely like Kingdom Hearts for different reasons.
Mhm.
And people dislike Kingdom Hearts. I think one of the reasons that like one of the main pain points there is like the story gets very convoluted. There's so many spin-offs that if you're not paying attention, like the storyline can just go right over your head.
Mhm.
And so I think one of my favorite parts as somebody who doesn't always have time to play all of the games is yeah, just that magic that's put into regular everyday life. Like we all grew up with like Mickey Mouse and like Donald Duck and Goofy, but like seeing them as heroes, seeing them doing magic and like all of the like things that they did that I could never even like imagine like being able to follow them around and doing those kinds of things really yeah is I think a very exciting foundation
Mhm.
to play a game in. And I think yes, that is definitely what kind of like lights me on fire working with 100 Thieves too, is just knowing like there is the blueprint for what lifestyle is, there's the blueprint for what esports is, and so taking that to the next step, how are we integrating those two worlds and making that magic for everybody to like enjoy in a different way? Very exciting.
Yo, beautiful to hear as always. So let's rewind once more. Obviously you're a young person. You're playing video games at a very young age. I mean, was there a turning point or a tipping point where you told yourself, like, I don't know how I gotta do it, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I think gaming is where I want to be at least for the first part of my adult years. I don't know like what your long-term goals are, but like was there a tipping point or turning point for you in that?
Yeah, there actually wasn't. Like I said, I kind of I was following more in my career, I was following more my passion for writing and communicating and
Mhm.
really speaking to people in a mass audience in a way that could have like an effect on how people felt, an effect on like what they did and how they acted. Is really what I was like kind of working on in my career and trying to hone my craft in marketing and communications. And I think, the universe just sent me my ideal career and how I got into gaming. I was actually looking for a new position, trying to kind of just level up and hopefully find something a little more tangible, something that I was more passionate about. When I worked for tech, it was either like very, very tech, like you don't even want to talk about it, or I was like in kind of like the food space, which that was fun.
Mhm.
That was fun. But it wasn't like it didn't light me on fire like gaming did. And so I actually had a friend that was recruiting for a position at the same time that I brought up that I was looking for a new position. And that position was with the Atlanta FaZe and Atlanta Reign esports teams. They put my name in and I secured the job after a few rounds of interviews and worked with them for just over a year. It was an amazing experience. It was an amazing, I think, serendipitous happenstance, I think, getting into the industry. And I know everybody has like different routes. I think that's why there is no common advice of like how to start working in gaming is because it's just uh, being ready for the moment when everything changes. And I think working in startup and like fostering my work with marketing, communications, and just upgrading my skill set allowed me to be ready to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, when anytime I give a person advice on how to further themselves in gaming or esports, whatever sort of avenue you want to get into, I always tell people just be there when lightning strikes. And I feel like in esports, a lot of times it's really hard to gauge what's happening and where it's happening because if I go to Dreamhack, I could be going for fighting games, but they do a big Halo thing there. But fighting games isn't really so big, but I also, want to try my hand at Halo. And just the next week there's an LCS thing happening, and then there's so many things happening all the time, and it's so hard to read the terrain. And when I was actually on your website, I might have peeked around on your site a little bit, you know what I'm saying, just
Yeah,
to see
good.
what was going on. And I seen, you spoken on a lot of panels. You've hosted a couple of panels. I mean, you have a very, very well-rounded background, and not just what you do now in esports, but really almost like on a kind of like what we do. I mean, it almost feels like you have a personality type of position. I mean, am I off the mark with that?
Well, thank you, first of all. I appreciate that. I don't know. I think in my first few years working in gaming and esports was still very startup-esque, very startup style. And I think I just had to jump feet first into a lot of different things, regardless of how, like, quote unquote ready I was.
Mhm.
And I was able to kind of find my strength and fail fast and learn fast, and a lot of experiences where there just wasn't anybody else to do it. And so I was kind of just in the position where I had to step up and do it. And I am very, very grateful to have learned that way and to have been in positions that have given me so many different opportunities to step up in those ways. I think when I graduated from college, I graduated with a degree in journalism and mass communications. And a very common route in that degree would be to either be a journalist or to join like a PR firm and work at a firm or an agency.
Mhm.
And I just knew that wasn't something that I wanted to do. I didn't want to work at like a large kind of like box and just have to do the same thing over and over and over. I wanted to have opportunities where I could step out and grow and just be brave. That's definitely something working with the Atlanta Phase and Atlanta Rain that I was able to do is just be brave. And I think I was rewarded just by, yeah, I think learning fast, failing fast. And now I am where I'm at, and I have all of those lessons and stored experience under my belt. And I feel like I'm better than I would be if I had taken kind of like an agency route.
It's amazing. You use learning and losing a lot, and I like that because a lot of times people don't quite know how interchangeable they are. Obviously every loss could technically be a learning lesson. I mean, which they should be. And in your case, it seems like there were quite a few learning lessons for you. What would you say would be one of the biggest ones? Because I have one that I always tell, but and mine doesn't. It's a personalized. It's not quite as cool. But like, what's yours? Like, what's your biggest learning lesson in being an
Well,
esports?
how you can't leave me on. Share yours.
So all right. So Alexander Jabali, the guy who hosts CEO, and it's like 2016 or 17, I can't remember, but Dreamhack Austin is now opening up the door for Smash 4. They had only ever did Melee, they had only ever did 64, but they're finally doing Smash 4. And I was working like three jobs. I was teaching. I was also a nanny at the time. I was also just working like side jobs on Craigslist, a bunch of loose stuff, a bunch of part time stuff, so I can be at events. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want anything full time that would stop me. So I messaged Jabay. Like I finally stomach up the courage to message this dude because this dude is like 40,000 followers on Twitter. Verified. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy. He's an emote. You know what I'm saying? He's just the man. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna message him about DreamHack. I know I have to because that same month he was doing CEO Dreamland, which was by far the more popular of the two. It's a more Smash centric event, better numbers, better setup. DreamHack is more like traditional esports. I think they did one in Atlanta too. Um, and I sent them a DM and I was just like, hey man, I was wondering if I can come to DreamHack Austin if you have me. And I shit you not, he sent this message back so fast. It almost felt like when you go on vacation and you have like an email that sends out to people like, "Hey, Jasmine's not here. I'm on vacation, but I'll get back." He sent me back like two paragraphs, like frame one, and was like, I don't got any money to house you. I didn't get a big budget to pay you much, blah blah blah. But if you want to come and you're good enough, pull up on me and we'll see what's up." So I messaged all my boys. I was like, "Yo, you gotta vouch, 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 vouch." And then I saved up all this money because by the time he told me it was cool to come, my flight was already like $600 because I'm flying from little old Nebraska to Texas, so it's already expensive. And I get there, and I try my best. I have a sinus infection too, mind you. Like the weather in Texas was just crazy. I have a sinus infection. I'm trying my best on commentary, and I'm like going home like feeling good that I did it, but I also feel a little defeated because I spent a bunch of money to be here and I got to go back to work on Monday and blah blah blah. He takes me off to the side. He says, "Hey, Rod, they didn't give me a big budget this year for this first one, but I can give you like X amount of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for coming through. I know it doesn't cover much, but we'll talk about the future." And I was just like, I had like a fucking Will, because we were talking about Will Smith earlier. So I had like a Will Smith Pursuit of Happiness moment where I'm out in the street clapping and crying like, I did it, but I had to be cool. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's cool, man. Yeah, I see you at the next one. Don't even sweat it, you know. But deep down, I'm having like a moment. But yeah, that's the one I always tell. What about yours?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It's like a grind until you hit it and you're like, yeah. Just like you said, yeah, pursuit of happiness. Yeah, I'd say there's two, I think, sections working in esports that I get into a lot that I think is like you can get burned really fast, and right there's the learning lesson. And so, yeah, I think I can speak a little bit to social media. I did a lot of social media management working with the Atlanta Reign and Atlanta FaZe, which is just, it's on an international stage, right? People are consuming your posts from all over the world of all ages, usually younger even. So you gotta even keep that in mind as to what type of vitriol you could receive due to that. But I think when I first started at my job, I actually hadn't even played Overwatch to begin with, and we jumped in and started covering the matches, and I learned the game pretty fast, right? Once you sit down and start playing the game, you learn the mechanics and kind of understand it a little better pretty fast, but understanding the community, understanding the nuance of how all of the teams interact, that's something that you can miss if you just dive right in. And so I definitely got burned in doing some of the like more amateur things, like the amateur team coverage that we had to do. So a lot of that, like I said, nuance is just, it's hard to uncover unless you're really doing your research. And so like I think we posted like a graphic that used somebody's logo the wrong way and got burned like instantly, but they had like just changed it the year before and like or like the month before, and there's no way that I could have known that. Like I'm brand new to the team, just all that stuff. And I think that sure, that's a learning lesson. That's like it sucks to do that, but like having that on a world stage where like hundreds of thousands of strangers are seeing that, like that's getting burned and that's learning fast. Like that's not a mistake that I would ever use in the future. Like if I have any question of, is this graphic right? Like, has anything changed? Like, that's something I'm going to triple check before I ever even like start to think about making a post in the future. But aside from social, one of the, I think, harder things to learn is how to interact with talent and creators in the esports space. I think mainstream talent, like actors and musicians and stuff like that, it's like a behind the scenes business. Like nobody knows how people are like talking to Ariana Grande, or like how like what does like Ashton Kutcher's agent say when he calls them up? Like what are they literally saying so that they're not putting these people off? Like how do they expect to be treated? There's no master class on that. You can't go on the internet and research like what are these people expecting of me. I think that's an industry standard that has yet to be carved out. And so I've definitely like made my own social faux pas and reaching out to talent and communicating expectations. But I've also been on the other end of it where I have learned enough that I can like stand up and say like, here I'm actually offering you like above what's expected, or like here's all of the talking points that you might need. And then instead of like feeling like shit that like, oh my God, like I didn't provide everything that you need, right? Like, which I have learned. Now at this point, I can just provide everything that you do need. And that feels good. It feels good to be able to talk to talent, for talent to say like, thank you so much. Like, this isn't what I was expecting. It's more than what I was expecting. So knowing what is like worst case scenario really helps you build towards what is best case scenario.
That's right. And speaking of going above and beyond, because I can tell, like, I was on your site and I was on your Twitter. I'm like, okay, Jasmine is like not a background person pressing a lot of buttons. Like she's, calling some shots, and she's also out in the field with you too, which is very hard to come by because a lot of the people who call the shots in esports aren't the same people who get out in the trenches with you, but you do a lot of both. And just being a woman in the esports space, I mean, what is your time been like in the community and also working with 100 Thieves?
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, we had our Attack on Titan 100 Thieves pop-up experience
Mhm.
2 weeks ago now, where we had a huge Titan put up on the 100 Thieves compound. It
Mhm.
stood at, I think, 40 feet tall. And so, like, if we had built out the body of it and it, like, would have stood up, it would have been true to size for the
Mhm.
actual, like, Attack on Titan Titan. Um, and then we invited all of the fans in to get first looks at all of the product for the merch collection that we dropped along with Attack on Titan, and buy the pieces, preview some stuff, reach into the vault and get some of our older pieces of apparel. It was a great experience and our first pop-up shop that we have hosted in over 2 years due to the pandemic. And we had fans lining up over 24 hours in advance to come into the pop-up shop. They were there overnight, so we provided them with some swag. We like bought them coffee. We hung out with them, of course, but like seeing that kind of passion is so gratifying. I think that is my favorite part of the job. I went home that night, and when I came back, the line was all the way down the block, and I'm not gonna lie, I got emotional as I pulled up, like because we didn't like necessarily do anything special like for the marketing of it. Like we said, we have a pop-up shop. Like here's the opportunity. You can see the apparel first, and you can buy it first, and you can see the vaulted apparel. Come see some creators. But like we were out here like paying for ads or like making a whole like bespoke website for it, or like we weren't even like, yeah, none of that. And so pulling up and just seeing like how many fans were there, just like so excited to engage with us, was so gratifying. And that's something that's like followed me throughout my entire career. I think I work really hard actually to like kind of curate my space. And so like people that follow me on Twitter are like, uh, I just want to make sure that those are good people that I want to engage with the people that are following me, like the people who are commenting on my posts. Like, I don't want to open them up to like toxicity and like trolls and that kind of stuff. And so, I do definitely see and I acknowledge and I support against toxicity in the industry, especially towards women. But it's honestly like I just have a hard line there. Like if somebody's going to be harassing me, then it's a block. Like I'm not going to be like talking to you. If somebody's going to harass me while I'm on the game, like I'm just going to leave the game. Like I'm not going to sit here and feel bad about myself. I'd rather like get locked out of the game for the next 3 decades than sit here and listen to somebody like trash talk me because of my gender. And so as far as like my lived experience, I don't experience a lot of toxicity because I very pointedly avoid letting those types of people into my space. But I think anecdotally, yeah, working with the fans is so gratifying. The communities that come to support esports teams are insane, honestly. Like I don't think that there are not very many fan bases that go as hard as as esports teams fan bases do. Like I know like K-pop or like Beyonce fans, like sometimes people will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, they'll come for you. And I think that like esports is getting to that level where like there's so much love and support and dedication behind these esports teams that like, yeah, we're about to start some riots. And I remember anecdotally one time at Dreamhack Atlanta, one of our players was doing like a meet and greet, and we had like I don't know, he was probably like 13 years approach the player to like meet him, and he was just visibly shaking, and like when he like met him, he like shook his hand, but like kind of just barely, but like he was almost in tears, and I was almost in tears, right? Like it's incredible to see like just what an effect like gaming and competitive gaming and like making people who are good at games into stars and what type of effect that can have on just like the quote unquote normal people. It gives people that feel very siloed in experiencing these types of like storylines it gives them a chance to look outside and see that there's like something more for them.
Oh, I used to be a teacher, so like when I hear like students when I come back from an event, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Rodney, we seen you at this one thing," or like, we seen this and we seen that. I'm just like,
That
"You
part.
did, but take out your textbook though. We'll talk about it later." No,
Yes.
all jokes aside, I love that. The great thing about gaming is that it's a space that's still growing into what we don't know. Obviously, hopefully something not toxic. Everything has unfortunately some levels of toxicity, but the gaming space is pretty good at zeroing in on it and then eliminating it. And since we're growing, into bigger horizons, whether it be late night with Jimmy Kimmel or the crypto space. I mean, it's weaving its way into more. We have to make sure that when people finally show up and they learn what esports is, that they learn about it the safe way. And if it feels like you're doing a really solid job at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think just curating those communities and making sure that like once they do land here, that it's like a very soft cushion full of like very like engaging and comforting and nice people. That's the main goal here.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about the future. You've been in esports a while. You've been doing your thing. I mean, I seen there was even some stuff with Access Replay. I seen
Mhm.
that back in the day as well too. The stuff you did with the Atlanta Phase. Now here we are at 100 Thieves. I mean, I don't want to obviously speak too far into the future, but what are some of your like long-term goals? I mean, you're so good at branding and marketing right now, but is there an end goal for you?
End goal, I think when people ask this question, I think a lot of people when I hear like, "Oh, I want to be like the senior director of this and that at this company,"
Mhm.
I think I have like more abstract, I guess,
Okay.
goals in gaming and esports. I definitely don't feel like I'm going to like retire or mature out of the space.
Mhm.
This is an industry that I definitely want to stay in and grow and develop. I think in the future, what I want for myself is, like I said from the very beginning, I really want to continue honing my craft in a way that I can create messages that really impact people and make them feel. I think it's really incredible, kind of like what storytelling and what like simple words can do to make people feel differently and make them act differently and think differently on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
So yeah, being in communications, being in marketing, like definitely like ticks those boxes for me. And working in gaming and esports specifically, like that's an international audience. And so there's just so much opportunity to grow communities for them to experience different storylines together and impact people in different ways. So I think I'm right on track for that. And I honestly don't have any goals outside of 100 Thieves right now.
Mhm.
This company is in an incredibly exciting spot. We're experiencing some massive growth right now. And uh, I mean, I'll just say like our recruiting team is like A1, like they are amazing. They've brought in some of the best talent like I've ever met in my entire career. And we're not only focused on bringing in people from esports that are the best at what they do, but we're also bringing in people from like cinema, like movies and TV and film, as well as people from lifestyle, fashion. Like we've got some really heavy hitters here that are like they've kind of stepped away from the limelight in their like own industries to like work towards the shared goal of making 100 Thieves like the esports organization that does premier lifestyle, premier esports, premier partnerships, premier brand, all of that. And I don't think there's a single person that I work with that isn't wholeheartedly interested in doing those things. And then beyond that, just organizationally, after our round of funding, like we are growing as a team, we are growing as far as like what we're like making new forays into. And so there's just a lot of opportunity for growth within the company that I would love to take advantage of. Like I'm not trying to see my way out of 100 Thieves. If I could continue like helping this organization achieve their goals, and that would be totally in line, I think, with what I'm trying to achieve in my career.
Yeah, you know, esports is an industry I feel like that runs off of storylines more than anything else. I mean, I come from a fighting game space, and that's literally what every community in the fighting game space talks about is that one match from 12 years ago on that one obscure stream that we're going to highlight because you got your ass beat. We take it and then we just like dump everything into it and we blow it up. And I can only imagine if it's going down like that in fighting games, then the rest of the esports space, of course, is certainly sharing that same sort of ideology. And wow, it's just amazing to see somebody like yourself curating it. And I have to ask, you've been in this a while. You've been going ham right now with pretty much everything you've done, but here we are with the 100 Thieves. What would you say? And feel free to take a moment because this could be a
Mhm.
loaded question, but what would you say like your crowning achievement is so far? It doesn't have to necessarily be like a career thing or like, I got that one really fat paycheck or that one really
Mhm.
crazy. Like, what would you say like something that really spoke to where you were like, I could hang that up over the fireplace?
Yeah. Man, I'm honestly like, ooh, I'm so proud of all of the work that I've done so far.
Mhm,
Because this space is not like really hospitable for people to work
Mhm.
in. Like it doesn't matter like what race, creed you are, like it's not easy to be here.
mhm,
Just like it's hard to stay in the startup space for a lot of different reasons.
mhm.
But what I've done so far, very proud of, and I think it's all some more things that I'd like to build on. Um, I think what I'm most proud of, beyond manifesting my position with 100 Thieves, this has definitely been a goal of mine that I've been striving to. And so to be in this position, I'm very honored and grateful. But right before I started working with 100 Thieves, I was working closely with the HBCU Esports League, which is
Mhm,
run by Community, CX Community. And they're really doing the damn thing. So not only do they have an HBCU esports league, so it's made up of historically Black colleges and universities,
mhm,
and students that go to those colleges and universities competing against each other for money. Um, it's comprised of that, but it's also a nonprofit, and so they go to all of these HBCUs and create esports labs for these colleges. And so I'm very proud to have supported them in the HBCU Esports League. And I think we're in our third year of the HBCU
Wow.
Esports League now.
Congratulations.
Um, yeah. I mean, Ryan, Chris, the shout out to them. They are really, really, really doing the damn thing, and they care a lot, as they should. We need somebody to care in this space. But yeah, third year, right? Yeah, 2020. Oh, we're going into our second year, I think.
Okay.
But
Still, congratulations.
thank you. Um, but yeah, I went through the kind of like very foundational stages, supporting them as they got their foundational partners on with Verizon, working with Discover, hosting the league exclusively on Twitch, like all huge moves for a Black owned organization that supports Black students almost as their main goal.
Mhm,
Uh, and so, yeah, in my work with them, I've done consulting. I've worked in them in a partner capacity. I've done, bits of press. I've done copy for them, helped them with the website, talent, creating kind of like a Discord hub for their students to work with the TAs and all of that kind of stuff. Very just multifaceted in any kind of hat that I can put on for them. I've been glad to. And in the time that I was working with them, we launched the first HBCU Esports League Pro-Am, where we invited a bunch of different stars to join the students and play alongside them. So we had NFL players, NBA players. We had creators from the esports industry, like the Black Hokage, Aaron Ashley Simon, a lot of just very notable creators, as well as notable lifestyle, as well as HBCU alums, just coming to support and play with the students that are giving their time to pursue their passions. I'm really proud of that. And you asked me about kind of like what my goals are for the future. I really enjoy mentoring students. We have a crop of interns at 100 Thieves right now that I just adore. Like they're a little wild, I love Gen Z, but y'all a little wild sometimes.
yes, they are.
Like what is brand safe?
Y-
We'll have to teach you about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think working with the HBCU Esports League really fulfilled that kind of part of me. And yeah, creating mentorship programs, working with individuals, and just holding the door open where I can for the people that I think can really improve this industry is definitely in my future.
I can tell. It seems like you just are really big on just planting seeds. And you know what's funny is that sometimes people in esports will plant a seed and they'll just throw money at it and they'll say, "Hey, well, go handle it. There's the money. There's the funding. I'm about to go do this other thing over here," and then that's going to branch off. And then by then they're completely spaced on this thing that they've built. But it seems like it's not enough for you to also obviously, in building anything, you have to get the funding, but you're also, curating it as it's growing too, which is just something that we need more of in the esports space. There's just so many people who are starting projects and then in a year or two, what the hell happened to them? Regardless if they were for something good or if it was just a traditional competitive play, you hear about it, it makes dot esports and then it just disappears. But in your case though, it seems like, yeah, I am, building things HBCU esports and also, helping the gamers of tomorrow be a little bit more brand safe. We'll use that terminology. And I just, salute to you for that because that is huge right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think some people do enter the industry, I think, for the wrong reasons. I think a lot of like full clout chasers, for lack of a better term, people
Yeah.
that just are chasing either the money or the popularity. The come up looks different for different people, and I think that my come up is helping others find their come up.
Yo, I love that. I love every bit of it. Yo, and Jasmine, we're gonna call it there. Yo, big shout out to you. Big thank you to you to come out and do this. I know when I had originally asked you, you were like, I got like a billion things going on. I'm way more important than you, but maybe I'm kidding. You didn't say that, but you were
Yeah.
like, yo, I got a lot of things going on, but you know what? This seems like it's for a good cause. So I'll try to squeeze it in. So big thank you for pulling up on us today.
Oh, heck yeah. Big fan of Shacknews, honestly. Like I didn't want to just throw my hand out, but yeah, I love you guys. You guys do great reporting, good storytelling over here. So yeah, if you guys haven't,
Thank
go
you.
ahead and follow Shacknews. Hit that follow button.
This is Brian. She's doing your job. She's doing your job.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're very happy to have had you on the show. Thank you so much again for being with us. Love to have you back again, in the future to keep talking esports, keep talking your future with 100 Thieves. Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to ask before you leave if 100 Thieves could expand into any other type of game, or what would you like them to expand into?
Um,
You, you
okay.
say Pokemon Sapphire. It's okay.
Competitive Pokemon Sapphire.
Okay, that's funny. Honestly, we should think about doing that though. Competitive Pokemon Sapphire.
Competitive Pokemon is, I mean, it's hot.
It is. It's getting hotter. No, for I think 100 Thieves. It's right when I started. So I've been at 100 Thieves for just about 8 months now. Very serendipitous as well timeline here. My favorite FPS game is Apex Legends. Like
Awesome.
I love BRs like battle royales. I
Mhm.
think like the immersive nature of them, like
Mhm.
how is like there's so many like little like buildings and stuff, but like eventually you're all like I don't know, something about it is like the immersiveness of it I really like. And Apex Legends does a good job not just with the game, but also with the storytelling that they do. So from a marketing perspective, I just like chef's kiss. Great job, Apex Legends. And yeah, when I first signed with 100 Thieves, we were chatting about like fielding our first roster for Apex, and that was just like music to my ears. I like if there was any game that I could suggest that like my favorite esports team get into, it would be Apex Legends, and luck would have it that happened like about I think 2 months right after I started. But I think yeah, moving forward, there's definitely room. I think maybe like Halo, Rocket League, and that's just speculation. But
Yeah.
I think the Rocket League, what was it like finals? Is that what it was? That was like held this
RLCS.
past.
Yes.
Yeah, that was held this past weekend.
Yep.
That was electric. The footage that came out of there, like people were lit in that stadium. So I would like to see 100 Thieves a part of that, and we can bring some of our fandom to that as well.
That would be great. Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. I really like to hear that. We're big fans of Rocket League here as well. It's a great game. Yeah, thank you so much, Jasmine. It's been an honor having you on the show. Yeah, thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
All right. Bye bye now. And you can go ahead and Yep, there we go. She is out. Thank you again to Jasmine. That was just fantastic. Rodney, you did an excellent job, as always, bringing the best questions to our guests and, really getting to the core of their esports, experience and lifestyle.